by now, I think.
Well, I can say, and here's Marcia.
Well, thank you. I it's interesting. I feel as though I'd like to just continue with this previous class. And I love the way that it fit in with when I started the weekend. I said the classes I'm teaching are all tied together by um, the idea of making choices that are good for us, that feed us, that make us better people, make us better singers, all these choices that we can make. And that class also fell in that category where we can make choices about how we deal with people, how we treat people, how we make an inclusive atmosphere, and how we move forward on all of the things that we deeply care about. Clearly, we deeply care about it. And there are many, many choices that we can make as we go forward. So I just want to recognize that it really fits in with what I've been saying during the day. The class on motivation, the first words I was going to say is that motivation is the energy to act, which is interesting because I feel probably more of you are energized to take part and to be active in this the topic that we just discussed. And so you could say that you're motivated to do something more proactive in that area. And that's essentially what motivation is about. What energizes you? So if you're working on a project and all of a sudden you look up and you think, wow, it's 4 hours has gone by and it went like that, and I feel really uh, like I haven't had any time, I just still want to keep going on it. That's a motivation because you are energized by that work. And it turns out that the question about motivation isn't why do we do it, but what moves us, what energizes us. And it occurred to me that some of the questions that we're asking, like how do we tell this person in the previous class, how do we talk to someone who has a leader that is not currently um, meeting the needs of their group, and how do we speak to somebody who's come into our chorus that appears to be from um, uh, a marginalized, I don't like that word completely, but from another group that we're not as familiar with. That the word what can we do, what would make you feel this, what would that be, what would this look like. So the what is a very important word in all of what we do, in rather than why do you want this or why are you doing this, is what are the factors that lead you to this. So uh, that's just a note that I wanted to make about that word, what. So what energizes you? um, we talked this morning about leaders, and I asked you to think about leaders who have motivated you and lifted you up. We talked about that somewhere in your history in life, somebody came across your path that took your life in a different direction. Again, what we're talking about here, making choices and treating people in such a way that it changes the course of their life. And I wondered if you had a chance to reflect on it, and if some of you could share some examples and some people who have lifted you and energized you to make changes or to go ahead with the things that you're now doing, and give us some insight into the elements that they provided for you that energized you. So, do I have some volunteers for that? Hands. Natalie, you're lit up. Are you going to talk about it?
Sure. um, the first person that comes to my mind actually is when I write about the time I joined a good friend of mine that sings in the chorus with me now. At the time, I wasn't in the chorus, but we were in college together. And so she said, "You need to get involved at the regional level." And of course, I had no idea what that meant at the time. And over time, obviously, got involved at the regional level, but then met some other people along the way that um, I always say twisted my arm, but had a private conversation, that one-on-one, that said, you could do this. And so that's how I, in Region 23, became the events coordinator, by somebody talking to me one-on-one about it.
Thank
So
you.
I had no idea what I was doing, but they said I could. So
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, what
I
about?
have a quick one.
Thanks, Jennifer.
A long time ago, when it maybe 2007, I had a PVI with Chris Noteware, and she said something that sticks with me. She's like, just get out of your way. You don't need to do anything to your voice. Just get out of your way. And I hear her voice in my head every now and then when I'm singing. So it kind of sticks with you.
Great. Anyone else? Well, one of the things that certainly, if we've learned anything over the past couple of years, is that we definitely need connection with each other, and connection is a huge part of motivating people. When Natalie talked about the arm twisting to get her involved in the region, part of that was being connected to something that was worthwhile and being with a team that was working towards a common goal. So that connected a feeling and being valuable to the team and doing something that has value, that that speaks to your values and that allows you to express yourself, is a big part of motivation, is to be connected. And certainly we've discovered that more than ever during the pandemic, is that we saw at the international level, we knew there was a definite need to keep our members connected. And then, of course, the regions knew that too, and they held all kinds of activities like this one that kept the connection between the members. The other aspect of it is, of course, competence, that you want to be learning something. So again, with Natalie, you were going to be learning things, and it took you forward into where you are now. And what Jennifer was talking about also, that making a choice is a big part. So those three things: choice, connected, and competence, are a big part of being motivated. Deb, speak up.
Thank you. I should have unmuted before I raised my hand.
Okay.
So I've kind of been sitting here thinking, and I've been at Sweet Adeline since 1992. So, it's all happened at some point. But a particular person who comes to mind is I had joined a small chorus, and then eventually I joined Pride of Baltimore, which was also a small chorus. But the really exceptional thing about Janet Ashford was her never lowering the bar, always bringing people up to the bar. And so for me, it was very motivational to be in a group where the expectation was high and consistent, and we always grew. So that was very motivating. And the reason for leaving that one other little small chorus and going to another higher level small chorus, on the other hand, in all those years, not necessarily in that chorus, but I had the experience, if we're going to talk about motivating, we might also just touch on demotivating or unmotivating, whatever the correct, and that's not being recognized for things that have been necessarily contributed, not because you necessarily do it just for the recognition, but even as a manager, all the years that I was, we must recognize people for even some of their small accomplishments, or the motivation factor. If their love language is words of affirmation, then the motivation can go down. And that's possibly one of the reasons sometimes we lose members, is maybe we don't know what their feel goods are, and we don't do it enough on some occasions. So anyway, that's my thoughts, my experience.
Thank you, Deb. And I agree with you in terms of there are things that are demotivating, and I actually thought about including some examples of that and describing it. And I thought, well, over the time that we've been talking, we've come across some things that, like blaming or well, actually, I'm going to say about the gossiping and the behind the back. Somebody said something about the, oh, in Kim's class, she talked about comments being made behind their back and that kind of things, those kinds of things. There are those behaviors that are very much demotivating, um, because well, it devalues you. So we are looking to be recognized and valued, and that affirmation and that acknowledgement is a huge part of that connectedness that I talked about, and the competence to be saying, yeah, you're making some progress, to be at least recognized for your efforts. So thank you, very good example. I see Molly has her hand up. I mean, I
Yeah,
see
Marcia. Hi there
Molly's.
again. Sorry you can't see me, but not sorry.
I am
Uh,
sorry.
Thank you. Today is the anniversary of one of the people who the anniversary of the death of one of the people in this organization who had so much influence on me in so many ways, and that's Darlene Rogers.
Right.
And she was a straight shooter, which we all appreciate. Sometimes we shy away from that. But when we get older and wiser, I wish that I had realized earlier that is the way to be. And we expect coaches and mentors to be that way. So I just wanted to give a little affirmation to Darlene, wondering what she's doing, and let the world know that she was quite an extraordinary lady. And she gave me a lot to consider, and I'm still using so many of her techniques and words, and just wanted to say that. So thanks.
Thank you, Molly.
You're
Of
welcome.
course, um, a lot of us had contact with Darlene, and she certainly was a person that made you feel included. And when she did her PVIs, you you really believed that you could do what she was telling you to do,
Yes.
that you could do. So she definitely added to our feeling of competence and um, and being included. So I echo your thoughts about her. And for me, it's very humbling that Darlene was the previous recipient of the
Yes.
Lifetime Achievement Award. And as I say, it's not a comparison thing, but it does highlight the fact that it's a very humbling and
Yes.
individual award to be given. So I'd like to acknowledge that aspect of her too. I do have a slide here that I would like to show. And this, I believe, is something that we can look at when we're talking about our own motivation. Just give me a second here. It doesn't want to open. Oh, there it is. I just have to not share this right here. I have to hit this again. Where'd it go? Just give me one little second. I've got so many things open right now at the moment that there it is. Oh, I see. I actually had to click on the actual slide. Where did you go? Okay. Sorry about that. Here it is here. When you talk about what motivates you, I'd like you to think about this: what you have to do in your job or your position or in your life. The kind of language you use, is it I have to do this, I must do this, I should do this, it is necessary for me to do this, I have to follow rules, or I owe it to you, or I don't want to let you down, and it's all about results. The reason why I talk about that is because if you're listening to other people and this is the language that they're using, it gives you a little hint into the fact that they may not be um, as motivated as we would like them to be. So if we could change our language to something like, I get to do this, I've decided to do this, I'm able to do it, I will grow and learn from this. That's the competency factor. I choose to follow the rules, and I understand the purpose behind what I do, which is probably a very big portion of why people will do the things that we want them to do or that we hope that they're motivated to do. So listen to the language, and when you talk to people to try to help them to focus on a new task, those are some of the languages that you can watch for to say, where are they coming from? And so then the question becomes, what would change this for you? What would motivate you? What would move you? What would energize you? So those are language choices and signals that we can watch for when we're talking to people about how motivated they are. I did a session with a small chorus. I'm going to use competition as an example because I think it's one that we often run into. This was a small chorus that had come up to the point where they had to do that once every 3 years competition. And the region sent me in to talk to them because they were very unmotivated to go. Their experiences were not very positive when they went. Their results weren't positive. And so they felt that they were sort of unhappy about having to go. So one of the exercises I did when I went there was to ask them about what they loved about their chorus, all the things that they loved, and specifically about individual people that were in that chorus. And as they described this chorus, it's all of the things that you would describe about your chorus and your chorus members that we love: being together, having this support group in our life, feeling good when we're singing together, all of those things. Which I knew when I asked the question. I knew that all of those would be there. And then I asked them, is there anything at all that you like about going to competition? Anything? And one by one, they answered. And of course, again, as expected, there were all kinds of answers, all the things that we say. Well, I like to go and sing on that big stage. Or I like to hear the other choruses. I love to see the people from the other choruses and quartets. I love that part. And I like being with my friends. I like going there. I like learning from the judges. And they were actually people that had those answers, even though as a group they were not motivated to go. And the one holdout, she said there's nothing. So I said, really, nothing at all. And what she said was, okay, I like going to the hotels so I don't have to make my own bed. So I really liked that idea. So great, now we have something to work with. So as each person expressed what they cared about, they formed sort of an agreement that if we could make that person, every person meet their goal and find what they liked about competition and have that experience when they were there, then as a group, what have we accomplished? We've brought the chorus together and we've helped each other reach their goals. And by doing that, as you know, and you've heard probably a lot, the more each individual in a group can meet their goal, the more likely the group is to meet their goal. So we discussed all of those things, and they came to the conclusion that they could make the choice to go to chorus and to go to competition, and they could do it for the group. Not take one for the giver, but really do it for the group so that everybody's expectation and goal could be met. And they also talked about how when they came home from competition, all the things they loved about each other, all the good experiences they had could be shared and to build up into the next part of their chorus life. So in talking about those situations, I did a slide of it because I think competition is huge for a lot of us. So let me just get this other stuff out of the way so you don't have to see my whole life here. There's two things I wanted to say about competition. When I said about the competence, that is the achievement and the learning. And what I said about the connection is the belonging. So those elements were in there, and it was in the language that they were using, that they liked to be together, and they wanted their friend to be happy. They wanted to meet, find the values for each member in the ensemble, and strengthen the motivation of the team. So that's it's an exercise that worked for that particular group. But there are exercises like that where each person can talk about what the task or the goal means to them. And there's another one here that I wanted to talk about, competition also, in that when we go to competition, we end up with some goals. Presumably, you make goals before you go, and I want to talk about these three levels of goals. And of course, the end goal would be something like a medal, top five, most improved, those kinds of goals, and they're excellent goals to have. However, they do depend on what other people are doing. And so it's really good to have, in addition, a performance goal. And a performance goal would be a score, which if you score 601, doesn't mean somebody else can't, or if somebody else scores it, doesn't mean you can't. So that performance goal is entirely your responsibility and something to work for. The process goal is the one that we do every week, and that is, what are we willing to do in order to achieve those other goals? And this goal, for this time in our lives, has been the most important one, because what we've done in everyday rehearsals, or every week rehearsals, I should say, that's all the process of getting ready to go to contest or go to another performance. And those process goals are very critical to keeping the group focused and motivated. This will also work for yourself, by the way. You can take this and apply it to anything you're trying to achieve in your life. You go through those steps of saying, what's my end goal, but what's my performance goal, and what's the process goal, and keeping in mind that we want to be connected, competent, and making choices. So that's how I tie those three elements together. The other thing is that your own sense of well-being is very important for your motivational energy, to get the energy you need to be motivated. And what's really important about that is that it has to fit with your values. And I touched a little bit on that last night, that it is really okay to talk about when your values aren't being met by the activities within the group. Something that Kim talked about in her class, the mental and emotional health. This is a big deal now in the world, and I believe that it's probably going to be much more as a topic as we go forward, because more people have experienced some of the challenges emotionally and mentally that other people have experienced in their lives. Like, maybe they've never had a time in their life where they could relate to a depression, or lack of energy, or feeling discouraged. Some people go through life and don't experience those. And I think now this is a sort of really bad, good thing that comes out of this, is that I think more people will be able to relate to it. And I think that some of the what you call with no, there's a word I'm looking for, I can't find it right now, but the shame of needing emotional and psychiatric or psychological help, I'm hoping will be much less, because there's still quite a stigma, is what I was looking for, that as more people have become aware that it can happen, it can even happen to me, it can even happen to us. So just talking about the well-being at the heart of your motivation, I want to just share this again. Here are some of the factors that are really important, and this is where leadership comes in. And everything I talk about in this motivational is motivating yourself and motivating others. So there needs to be a presence of positive energy. And I think what's really important is that we can talk about things that aren't working, but we keep it in a positive way that helps those who maybe are adding to the negativity. Can I say that? To help them to reframe things in a positive way. I'm not talking about actual personal injury that where I agree that you should be allowed to express when you are hurt and all of those things. But I'm talking about in the group, keeping a sense of positive energy. One thing that I'm very much aware of we talked a little bit about Facebook, but Facebook is it's a dangerous weapon because it's an immediate reaction usually to something that you can put up there. And I think as leaders, we have to be aware that what we say and what we do um, really affects people around us. And I think that we have to keep working to keep the messages positive and to help people to see things in a more open-minded way. Uh, I talked about the difference. I often talk about the difference between reacting and responding. And a reaction is very immediate. And Kim also talked about that, where that part of your brain is firing. And it's very easy to say and do things that feel good to you at the moment. And I find sometimes on Facebook, it feels good to have a whole bunch of people say, yeah, I like it and I agree with you. And then, that makes you feel that you can actually, justify what you've said. However, if you take a moment to respond, take time to respond, which Kim talked about also, taking that time to put it in a way that's going to be not just more helpful to the people maybe that you want to talk to, but more helpful to your group, to demonstrate that there is a proper way to respond even to negative input. And my husband and I have this saying that says when somebody is acting like a fool, or any kind of other word you want to use there, that be careful not to trade places, because once you step into their arena, then that's where you are, and you can't usually come out of it the way you wanted to. So it's really easy sometimes to just look and to say, well, actually, I wouldn't trade places with you right now, even though you're being mean to me. I'd rather be me than you. That's really honestly the truth of it. And dealing with something that's difficult to deal with, or negative, I often say, and I talk to people about this also, if you could be yourself 2 years from now, what is the story that you would want to tell about this experience? Would you want to say, here's how I dealt with it and overcame and moved forward? Or do you want to keep telling the story of how you got even, or how you, you know, added some more negativity to it? So that's the whole presence of positive energy that people need for themselves and for those that they're trying to motivate and help in their life. And then we said, as I said, we need a sense of continued learning, personal growth, and accomplishment. We're very fortunate in Sweet Adelines that we have opportunities to continue training and to continue to learn. We can spend time with people that are really smart and know more than we do about a subject. We can seek out people, mentors, to help us with what we want to learn. And we can read. We can do a lot of reading and a lot of studying. There's a lot offered to us, as I say, by those people who are giving it out of the goodness of their heart and making information available. So we can continue to learn. Then again, the feeling that one's work is contributing to something socially meaningful. This is an interesting aspect for me, and for right now, that's a very highly, this is something that energizes me, is that for all my years in Sweet Adelines, 40 years, I've worked for the betterment of the organization and making all the things we do better, singing better, all that has been great. And at this point in my career, I'm able now to do something in terms of the DEI Council, to work for something that's socially meaningful, and to understand that as Sweet Adelines, we have the potential to make that impact on the world. In the studies that, in the research that we've done, what we found was that there are not organizations like ours who have a lot of background and information available in this area of DEI. We are kind of developing something that's a bit of a leading edge. And my goal, my vision for this is that we will eventually be the ones that people come to say, how did you do that? So that's my vision for 2, 3, 5 years down the road, where they come to us and say, we can see a difference in your organization and we'd like to know how you did it and we'd like you to teach us how to do it. And then, of course, this connectiveness of having the supportive and secure relationships, which we singing together is one of the most powerful ways that we are tied together. It's something that we don't have full access to right now, and I think that we all understand how much that mattered in our lives. That new member that I talked about that came to our chorus, this is what she saw in the group, and this is what drew her to want to join. And of course, the minute she showed up in person and everybody saw her in person, she had these relationships that had developed completely on the Zoom calls. And so that was a huge draw for her. So that's a big part of motivating people to be a part of a team or of working towards a goal. And then, of course, the manageable stress, we have to be able to deal with the demands on our life. And again, we have to be prepared to say no if it goes beyond what we can do, and if it conflicts with our values, we have to be able to say no at some time. So I wanted you to keep that in mind. And I think if you think about the people that did lift you up to where you are now and why you've made the choices you've made to lead, I think that you'll find that is what those leaders, that is what those mentors did, and that's what you found on the way to where you are at this point in your life. So I'm good with this if you are, and if there's any questions or comments, I'd love to hear it. If people have more ideas of what motivated them, brought them here, keeps them here, I'm happy to hear that too. Yes.
Marcia, I wonder if you could, if you're able to, and I realize you would not be from confidentiality or whatever, but could you expand a little more on what you just said about people coming to Sweet Adelines in the future? And for context there, I'm involved in other DEI things in my professional life. And so I didn't have quite that view to Sweet Adelines, but maybe I'm not thinking about it the same way. So I'd love to understand more what's bringing you to that position.
Well, the council has been working not quite for a year. We've been meeting, and the board of directors, as I said before, are very open and very committed to making changes and to working in the areas that we want, where we feel will make a difference in how people feel about joining the organization. For example, we went through and the language in our manuals, for example, the judging category description book, the language is neutral all the way through it. In terms of gender, it's all neutral, and we're striving to do that in all of our communications. So that's a very obvious thing there. And we also understand that we need to make a statement that is inclusive, and we're working on that now to make it very clear of how we view the organization, and we're coming to a point where we're going to be able to do that and make that change, which will be very visible and tangible in the language. So there's that, and the toolkit is so big that big in importance. We have an advisor that we use. She's a professional. She works in DEI areas, all kinds of areas, and she is absolutely thrilled with what we've put together in that toolkit. One of the biggest reasons why I think it is a success is the different voices that we had in there. It's what Kim said. You have to listen to people who can actually speak to the experience and speak to the needs, and that's coming. That's in there. It's very obvious. We have an educational component that we're putting together so that it's not one class here and there. There's an actual, theoretical, deliberate offering all the time that has a long-term goal and keeps going forward. So I probably maybe said a little bit more, but it's really important, and it's all positive. It's all positive. It just, when does it happen? The board's motivation, let's say, their energy is very much into making it happen as quickly as we can. So, but
Great. Thank you.
does that answer that question, Jennifer?
Yeah, it definitely does. And obviously you have, visibility to many more things than others of us do. So it's good to hear that.
Yeah, thanks. I just think that, when I was listening to Kim's class and I was looking at this motivation class, I thought, wow, there is so much in here that speaks to how we treat each other and how we make people feel valued and welcome onto a team, and connected to us, and also to give them something to achieve. This is an important part of what we do. It's not all about contests at all, but there's a very important part of this that makes us feel as though we've grown as a human being, grown as a person, a singer, a performer, whatever that is. And there's a very important element of that competence, and that achievement is huge. It's what has motivated a lot of our members to get into areas that they never would have thought they could. The judges, the faculty, the arrangers. We have arrangers now, because of our ACP program, which we modified so that people can join that at a very basic level. It used to be, to be a part of that program, you had to already be an arranger, and you're doing a certain amount of work in that area. And now you can come in right at the roots and learn music theory in the first few sessions. And so we are actually we're growing our own arrangers, and it's pretty exciting. We've got quite a few of them working. Same with the judging. We've got, well, you can imagine, we've got a big group of people that are ready to come in that have been on hold for a couple of years, and it's very exciting. A lot of the younger members, a lot of new faces that you're going to see in there, and so there's so much happening while we just wait to burst forth on the earth again. Deb.
Yeah, so you bring a point to about motivation, where it comes from all different angles. And for a little testimony for a motivational thing for me that's going on in our chorus is that we had, of course, Zoom like everyone else, and we had people who joined us, and we've actually gained members, like virtual members, but we've also we gained one gal who came to our very first live rehearsal, who first joined us on Zoom, and on her second rehearsal she brought somebody with her. Mm-hmm. So for me, motivation doesn't just come from the places above us. As a longtime member, motivation comes for me from the new people that come in who are as enthusiastic as I was when I was that new. And then, you kind of get used to everything, and it's easy to slide into just a touch more complacency. So I think we have, as difficult as it's going to be that we may lose some members, I think this is an opportunity that we may see some unprecedented new growth, because everybody who has not had something to do has had time to wish for something to do. And I think there's going to be people that will come out of the woodwork when it's a safer time that, I think we can say change is a process, not an event. And as we change in many ways, we're going to attract more people, and the state of the world has poised us to have a whole new crop of people to join us. So, I'm looking, to me, it's motivating just to come out of this darkness feeling like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll get there sometime, and it's probably going to be a brighter future than we can really imagine yet, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It's interesting. When I think about the people who left, I the way I feel about them is that we have to let them go with an open heart, an open hand, like that whatever in their life has led them to this choice, that it might be the really right thing for them. I also feel a connectedness to them because they were a part of us, and I don't ever want to diminish those who have been a part of us and have moved on. They were here. They kept us going over the years. As long as they were members, they were a part of us, and I think it's really important how we treat or think about the people who have left too, and so because all of us will be some time in that position probably, and to know that even when you're gone, we recognize your contribution and that you played a role in where we are today. It's part of who we, like you don't really go away from us. You stay a part of us as part of our history and the development over the years. And that is really how I feel. And I felt that way since I started to direct, because I recognized that when people left the chorus, how we talked about them told the people on the risers how they were going to be treated if they left. And I think it's a very, very important message for us to keep in mind, that if they have chosen a different activity or a different path, or for whatever reason, that they will remain a part of our experience of Sweet Allies, at least for the time that we're able to continue to work together. We'll just keep them in our hearts. That's how I feel. Anything else? Oh, there's some chats here. Thanks, Deb. There we go. Good. Anything else? Well, I appreciate your time and your attentiveness this weekend. It's been wonderful to be with you. I just have to say that I'd be so much happier to be with all of you and to see all your faces. We know that this is a difficult media, but we have been able to survive because of it. Really, it just actually came into our lives at exactly the right time. So I'm very grateful for it, and I know that as we go forward, we're still going to be using it for certain situations. So thank you for being so patient and for putting in this time today.
Well, thank you, Marcia. You brought so much great information to us, and I know we are all motivated in our own sense, whether you are a past leader or a present leader or a future leader. We will glean from so much of what you brought to us. Also, I want to thank Kim Newcomb for the DEI session. I know if many of you may have some more questions about that, please feel free to reach out to Kim. And if you don't know how to get in touch with her, pop something in the Harmony Heartland Region 4 site or on our Facebook page, and we can get you connected. Also, want to thank Kim Wonders. I said she was busy right now. She's teaching at Harmony University. I know Jen Cook has also been doing that too. So, but I want to thank everyone on her behalf as education coordinator. If you are a treasurer, then you are going to be meeting with Beverly Miller. I know we're finishing just a few minutes early, but that time is set for 3 o'clock. Beverly, are you still on task for that time?
It's perfect.
Okay.